Like the Real Housewives of Max Verstappen up in here.
Checo's checked out.
Joe Lonyu is off the track. That steak is cooked.
A lot, I gotta say, a lot is at stake for Steak F1.
Man, even the broadcast couldn't handle that stat.
My heart almost was screaming like, how can anybody be a Lewis Hamilton fan?
No.
Not on my 2024 bingo card.
Yeah, we're gonna have to create a new one now.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Lights Out Latest. I'm Marina, and I'm here with Jason, Tristan, and Steven. And today we're going to talk all things motorsport news from the last week or so and do driver ratings. Starting off with some rumors that F1 is planning to make the cars for 2025, enforce the teams make the cars for 2025 more distinguishable. They, like us, don't like the carbon fiber and the 4 blue teams. What do you guys think?
The 4 blue teams.
Blue's Clues up in here.
The Alpine, the RB, the Red Bull, and what's the 4th blue team?
Williams.
Williams, yeah,
right?
Will.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's I like it. It reminds me of the new paint regulations that happened in 2017 when they said, oh, you got to make the numbers at least this big. And you got to have a driver indicator, so they put the first 3 letters of their last name on every car. That was really interesting. Like, if you look up that year, they also had the shark fins that year in 2017. So they had, like, a huge surface area to put cool and creative designs. And every team did something different. It was cool. Like, Haas, they put the driver letters, like MAG for Magnussen, on the shark fin. That was so cool. So reminds me of that. I like that.
Yeah. See, like my question becomes like, obviously a lot of the like color differentiation is sponsor driven. So it's it has to be, right? So
like Alpine aren't gonna agree to be red. Like they're Alpine blue.
Yeah, they're Alpine blue, but also like what BWT is like still one of their big sponsors, right? And BWT's letters are all blue. So, I mean, I don't know.
They got some of the pink. They could go pink. Yeah. They could go pinker.
They could go pinker, but then also, like, Williams has been just notoriously white and blue as, like, their main colors for forever.
Yeah. I mean, they also...
What if they went Duracell copper?
Duracell copper? Yeah, but
that would be sick. I would love to see that.
Copper-colored car would actually
more Duracell battery.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Cool. I agree. I think my whole thing would be, like, with the colors. Like, I don't know that you can, like you said, I don't know that you can tell Williams to be red. Like, you just can't. That's sponsorship based. Yeah. That's the identity of a team. But on the other hand, you can enforce that they add more colors. So, like, Ferrari is red, but they have, like, the stripes on the side that are yellow and white. So more things like that. And more differentiation and less carbon fiber. I think that's, like, the big thing because that makes the cars look so similar because they're all black. Like,
well, that would be raising the minimum weight because right now they're shipping so much paint to save weight.
Yeah.
But, from what I've been hearing is like not every team is down to the minimum weight, and of course you want to keep it low so like teams are incentivized to like develop and actually put in an effort to remove weight from the car. But right now where it's at is like they're removing paint because what else can you remove?
Yeah, but I mean, Jason, you might have to get back to me on this one, but like, how much realistically are you actually losing weight on when it comes to paint? There's like no way it's that much.
It could be for like a fully painted car, it could be a few kilos.
Yeah.
Like up to 10, I think. If you like lathered on the paint. But
what is that, 4 coats? Like when you
I don't know. I mean, source is like Google top result. So
again, that's like one of those deals where we're probably not going to get a definitive answer because like it's not like Ferrari's putting on their website like, oh yeah, we put 5 coats of paint on the car.
Well,
like,
it was
yeah
when Ferrari went to matte paint, and at the end of, like in 2019, Mattia Binotto, team principal Ferrari, was asked like, "Oh, what's wrong with the glossy red? We love the glossy red." He's like, "Hey, saves us 300 grams to go to matte paint, so we're going matte paint."
There you go.
So I don't know. These teams are crazy.
Yeah, I mean the other thing is too. I mean they could also just go the NASCAR route and just wrap the cars.
Yeah, right. Well, that's be tricky though.
It would be hard. I would admit that it would be hard.
I think there is a lot of stuff though that's like stickers. Like a lot of the logos
all
like
the
Red Bull, all the sponsor stuff is all like stickers.
Yeah.
So I guess that probably factors into, like you said, 10 kilos. Like a lot of that probably comes from stickers and not so much the actual paint. Because honestly, I highly doubt they're painting their cars with like 4 coats of red paint. Like I'm pretty sure it's like one and done.
One and done.
Too. So
I mean,
I'm actually sorry, Steven.
No, I was just gonna say they could also, I don't know how good it would look, but they could also tint the carbon fiber itself and have it.
Right, I've seen that where like the resin is dyed.
Yeah,
thought about that.
I don't know how good that would look, because I think when you dye carbon fiber like that, it's always going to come out darker than like, you know.
I'm like still surprised that the cars are actually painted straight up. Going side by side with what Steven says, like I'm surprised those cars aren't a wrap at this point.
Yeah.
It's probably just because of all the aerodynamic bits, and the wings would be so hard to wrap. I mean, I could just imagine that would be a nightmare to wrap.
Yeah, like Mercedes, they do so much like behind the scenes stuff, and they did a feature one time on their airbrush people, who they literally take an airbrush and like paint the front wing, and like when they had the Patronus blue and like a beautiful like line that like faded into the silver. That was all like
I love that
airbrushed on. That was not a graphic or a wrap. That was pretty sweet to see.
And
like,
again,
they're literally hiring artists to make sure the car looks good.
And I love that because it's like, to me, again, this goes back to the fundamental roots of racing. Is like what I miss in NASCAR is like engine builders, like people that was their job to literally mill out engines, find the way that you could find little tricks and stuff like that. And it's the same deal with NASCAR now. Like Steven was saying, the cars are like mostly wrapped nowadays, but occasionally you will see a painted car. And social media teams blow up. They like post, oh yeah, our car this weekend, we fully painted it, put it in the airbrush studio, stuff like that. And it's like people love to see that because it's craftsmanship.
Yeah,
like it's an art. It's an art. Those cars used to be so beautiful because it was hand painted. It was crazy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That just goes back to exactly what, I guess the headline of the rumor is like, we just want the cars to look nice and to look different. Like at the end of the day, personally, I'm not going to not watch F1 because the cars are all black, but it's nice to like look and be able, especially like for commentators, for example, for Crofty to be able to like look towards the back of the field and be like, oh, there goes an Alpine because but like when you get to that back of the pack, especially because the angles of the cameras, you're looking like at the front of the pack, it's so hard to tell from our eye or from commentator's eye who it is that crashed or that went off or whatever, because they all look the same. So I think the like back, like the down and dirty of it is you just want the cars to look nice. But anyways, Pirelli also new updates are considering implementing a C6 tire to be used on street tracks now that we have so many on the calendar. I don't know how I feel about this. It'd be like the softest compound. They're just trying to like make it more like so it degrades more. So they'll use the C6 on street tracks, and like I'm guessing like the softest tire. Be like a super soft.
Because what was that one year? It had to be 2012, 2013, where the tires like there's like 4 pit stops and like tires were blowing up. I think it was 2013 British Grand Prix, where Pirelli just came with tires that were super ridiculously soft because they wanted strategy mayhem. And they got strategy mayhem, and to the point where tires were blowing up on track, and that was dangerous. But I don't think we're anywhere near that point. I kind of like going a little softer.
No, I don't see this tire being like.
It's gonna be a Monaco special, honestly.
Yeah, I was gonna say like that was kind of the one track where I could see this actually like really maybe taking place is Monaco, but also I don't see it being like, unless if they somehow drastically mess up the C6, then it becomes like it is the fastest tire, but for all of 10 laps, and then it like you need to like pit to get on mediums or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because again, like we're at that point now where you need to run certain sets of tires for the weekend, right? Like it's not necessarily for the race, but for qualifying and practice as well, right?
Yeah.
You get like a tire allocation. My whole thing though is like implementing the C6 as softest tire. We didn't even see any of the teams in Monaco go on a soft tire.
No, not at all.
Say that if you implement a C6, you're gonna get them using it for like
I don't think they will.
You would just go, I mean, obviously you're gonna go one step softer, so that would mean your tire range would be C6, C5, C4, which would end up being that like this year's hard would be this year's hard would be a medium tire.
I think the takers,
but like,
I think the takers that you would get for that are like people maybe towards the end of the last run that are in the top 10 in the points that are looking to get fastest lap. Like that's the only thing that makes sense to me is because again, Monaco has become like it doesn't matter about what compound of tire you have because you're not going to pass anyways. You change the tire as much as you want. That lane isn't going to open up. That car's not going to get smaller just because the tire you have. So like fundamentally, the best advantage you could have is maybe Alonso if he's running P9 or P10 and he could get fastest lap. He gets a little bit more extra points, and that's because of that new compound. But that's the way I can think of that. You saying that now is just like enlightening me to the fact it's like nothing's gonna change. They're still gonna run the hards or the mediums because all it is lasting in Monaco at this point. You're not passing anybody. You just have to last the finish.
Yeah.
Your tires just basically have to not blow up. But I mean,
exactly.
It'd be cool if they had it where like you just kind of take tire strategy out of it, other than the fact that like you had to make a pit stop for the tires. But like I'm saying, like you're allocated like one compound for a race.
Yeah.
Like, for this race you're using softs. For this race you're using mediums. You know what I mean?
That's aggressive. That's interesting.
Aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, I just think for like street circuits. I think for street.
I enjoy it. I like that idea.
I do like it. I honestly though, for certain tracks, like for Monaco, I honestly don't think tires are the issue. Like there has to be something else done because the issue, like you said, is the cars are just too big for that kind of street circuit. So especially because we keep going back to more and more street circuits. We have Baku, we have Vegas, we have Madrid coming up in 2026. Obviously Monaco, and so like you have more and more and more and more street tracks. There has to be something else, whether it be to make the car smaller, or to change certain elements of a street track or like, I don't know, elements of the race. Like Max and George were joking. Like for Monaco, we should have to do one lap on foot and then get back in the car and keep going, or mandatory 3 to 4 pit stops, or I don't know, so funny. They were like coming up with these like crazy solutions, but it's just, I don't know that this is going to fix anything. So I don't know.
It's boring. It's good to hear that it's boring for the drivers as much as it is for us.
Yeah.
If anybody that follows Lights Out Lace account follows my Instagram, I posted on my story a compilation of Max throughout the weekend or throughout like Sunday saying it was boring. Every chance he got, it was so funny.
It was crazy.
The thing is though, Max. It like people will be like, oh, it was boring if Max is in the lead by 30 seconds. But then for him, it's not boring because he's leading the race and he's winning the race. So I guess it kind of just depends on who you ask. Because Charles Leclerc is never going to tell you that Monaco is boring.
Yeah.
Because for him, it was far from boring. He won the race, but also think he was so emotional throughout the race. So it was never boring.
I think if you ask Charles Leclerc, though, 10 years from now, like, oh, look back on that race. It was like, he'd probably be like, I won pole. I won the race. I mean, that's, what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's not his fault. I'm sure, again, logistically so, he could sit there and be like, yeah, that's how this race is won. I won that race on Saturday, like, essentially. And I won it on Sunday by not, not, like, messing up. Hit it, like, as Monaco has done to him before. Like, just a little issue causes his entire weekend to implode. So that's
I like they were talking about Monaco because something very interesting happened in Monaco where Esteban Ocon decided I'm just gonna hit my teammate just completely unnecessarily. Anyways, there was a lot of rumors that he would be leaving Alpine because of what Bruno Femin said. We talked about it last pod, but he is confirmed to stay. But I want to know, if he were to be replaced later in the season, do you think it would be Jack Doohan or Mick or neither? Somebody else?
It's tough to say. I don't know if anyone would think that Mick deserves another shot. I mean,
I don't think they would pull Mick from the World Endurance team. And it's crazy to see that Ocon kind of confirmed the rumors by saying, like, I will be racing in the car in Canada. Like, it was insane that a team would do a self-imposed penalty. I can't remember anything like that happening.
Yeah.
And maybe it was never planned to happen, and he just wanted to apologize publicly. But for him to drop in the final line there, like at the end of the post, be like, "I'm looking forward and will be racing in Canada," I was like,
yeah.
I was kind of surprised he threw that in there.
Yeah.
He could just said looking forward to Canada, or like, I don't know. I don't know the exact quote, but it was something more substantial than looking forward to the next race.
I'm looking forward to competing in Montreal in front of the fantastic Canadian fans and to the exciting opportunities the future holds.
Yeah.
You know what? That Instagram post to me screamed like self-validation in the terms of like, I think Esteban knows that his team, not necessarily his team, but his leadership in their team isn't on his side.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Like, it seemed to me like Esteban is confident in himself, but he leaned into the rumors because he knew the rumors were like actually somewhat true within the team.
Yeah.
Like to a degree. Which obviously is not good to hear, but like at the same time, it begs the question of like, like what does next year look for him?
Yeah.
I don't think he gets replaced within the year. I think unless if he drastically screws up again. Like, I agree with Jason though. Is I don't think Mick leaves that seat. I think he is well seated in WEC. Like he's not going to move. And obviously, it's just a logistical nightmare for them because then they have to find somebody else to fit that seat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
to counter that, it happened to Kevin Magnussen. He was called out of Peugeot, right out of IMSA too. I think he's at Cadillac. He tried out a couple races, and also same thing for Brendan Hartley. He left WEC to go to F1. Hulkenberg, he was in WEC for like a little bit, but then he ended up back in F1. So it could happen. But,
it could happen.
I mean, Mick is a known quantity, and it's going to be up to like how much political support I bet he has in the team, because on paper, both Mick and Doohan are like equal almost.
Yeah.
And I almost think, as much as I'm not a super Esteban Ocon fan, I almost think they would still, like, even after everything, I still think they rank under him. Like, in terms of, like, I still think has more skill than both of them. And if they're looking to save money, like, if their problem is Esteban keeps crashing into his teammates, I don't know that Mick is going to be your solution. Like, I hate to say it, but it's kind of true. So, I don't know.
That's the thing, too. I mean, of course, it always goes back to, do you want young talent? Do you want a proven talent, you know? Yeah. And, of course, I think we talked about this before. It's like Alpine is still going to be Alpine. They're still going to be slow. They're still going to be like, I mean, you're always going to be in a situation, and I think even Esteban kind of pointed to it. It's like, you're going to have situations where you're on a team like this, and you're always going to be running your teammate close to each other. So it's like, these things are going to happen. It's really just a test of your morals, honestly.
Yeah.
Unironically, you just want a non-troublesome guy who's going to run that car and not wreck it. Like, that is fundamentally, from an Alpine point of view, you need to kind of not scrap this year, but like, if we could fight for P10, P9, sure, but don't wreck the car doing it. Like, let's be conservative here, and stuff like that, which again, look at that move that Esteban made. Like, he was asking to get wrecked. I mean, legitimately.
A very team-friendly move.
Yeah, exactly. Against a teammate, too. So, I mean, like...
Well, that was the other thing, too, that he said that in his post. He was like, you know, I had orders and all this stuff. It's like, okay, but how well are you really... Like, I guess we'd have to hear the radio on that specific scenario.
Yeah.
What that team meeting was like before they were going into the race. It's like, how you're going to race each other. But I would think it'd always be to, you know...
But again, I think the team meeting going into Monaco, they're probably like, hey, as long as we don't screw this up dramatically, we are going to finish in these positions.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, like, and they screwed it up dramatically because Esteban...
because I think Pierre made it very clear that the instruction from the team was, you are not racing each other, you're racing everyone else, and all it takes is one crash for both of you to finish in the points. And Alpine is so tight, the back of the field, they have that, I think they have 2 points now, with Esteban finishing 10th once and Pierre finishing 10th once. They're tied with... Who are they tied with?
Not Haas.
Williams.
I think it is Williams.
Is it Williams?
Because because Albon finished 9th, so he got 2 points. So they both have 2 points. So
Okay.
I guess there's that. Fundamentally, though, I think the post in a way was kind of to get some people on his side. I think for me, it was kind of a moral thing where it was like, okay, he made a mistake and we're all talking about it, and fundamentally it was bad. Like that shouldn't have ever happened. But at the same time, nobody should be getting like death threats over this. Like
No.
I remember people there was like in 2021 when there was crashes with Lewis and Max, and then people would like comment things about his family and his like that's never okay. Like that's separate. Us talking about him potentially losing his seat is one thing, but talking about him in such a negative light, like people I've seen on social media, like that doesn't fly. And I think that was pretty much the bulk of what he was addressing. Like kind of like as an apology, but also as like, listen, this isn't okay kind of thing. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the thing I would say too that I thought was kind of interesting. I mean, I think to your point, I almost feel like they'll read the post that it doesn't necessarily. I mean, I think it obviously addresses what happened, but he never really apologizes for it black and white, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he kind of just defends himself more than apologizing. Yeah.
And I think too, having thought about it, especially since his relationship with Gasly has always been kind of, not great. But it seems like to me, especially from that post, like he's more concerned about, doing as well as he can versus the team doing well in a sense. It's more about that's the kind of sense I got from it. But,
yeah. That's confusing too for me because I feel like all year people have been commenting how strong he's been for the team. He's been like he'll like celebrate a Q2 like it's a pole position and like things and kind of like you'll see the radio messages where he's like praising the team, and he hasn't really it's been rare that he goes into an interview and really bashes the team a lot, which to be fair is kind of what you're supposed to be on the team side because it's your team, right? But still it's kind of counterintuitive. It's like now I'm defending myself and then I'm defending the team, and I'm just, like it doesn't like match.
Yeah.
But let's talk Red Bull because Checo also crashed in Monaco, costing the team $2.5 million.
Crashed is an understatement.
It was a total mess. I can't believe they're talking about, oh yeah, he'll get a contract extension right after something like that. Like out in Q1, P18, and the only track where like qualifying will decide the race.
Yeah.
Track where he's
won, and then crashing it. Couldn't even keep it in one piece going in. I mean, to be fair, it's like 50-50 between the two cars, and I think Magnussen got the penalty for it. But still.
My deal is like, again, he's won Monaco, right? Like he has won that race before.
Yeah.
And this is me being not as up to it though. I kind of want to watch his onboard for his qualifying lap. Did he like drastically mess up? Like, I don't remember hearing anything about him really screwing up that bad.
I think it was a combination of two things. I think firstly, him and his team kind of didn't get it right, which to be fair puts a little bit of pressure on Red Bull, not just Perez, but he was kind of off sync with everybody else that was out there. When it's in Q1, you literally everyone has to be out there at the same time. Everyone's doing a push lap or everyone's doing a cool lap because there's nowhere to go. Like you can't just get out of the way.
Especially in Monaco where it's so short.
So
we talked about this I think last week of like there needs to be special there needs to be special procedures for the qualifying in Monaco.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think he had a little bit of traffic, but more so than that, I think he just because the Red Bull couldn't ride the curbs, I think he was extra cautious more than he needed to be. Like I think he expected that for a Q1 lap it would have been enough, and it clearly wasn't. So kind of not well played on his part, but what worries me more is we talked about this last week with the constructors being so tight, is that because this crash costs so much, they don't have that much. They're at some point they're going to run out of money in the cost cap to bring upgrades. And if he crashes just one more time, like I saw Helmut Marko talking about that they allocate about $2 million to crash damage repairs and stuff for the season. In one race on round 8, he cost the team $2.5 million in repairs.
I can't believe only that much. I thought it would be a little bit more, but
seriously, the car is disintegrated.
I feel like there's nothing left of that car. Like I don't even know how they repair it.
Maybe the steering wheel.
There's the amount
crazy because the gearbox is done. Obviously, the survival cell is probably cracked, can't be reused, and you saw everything else is just all gone.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think also it adds an extra element of pressure maybe to the Max side of the garage that he can't crash, because if he wants the team to be able to bring upgrades, he can never make it to his 2 million mark. Like essentially you have $2 million to like fuck around and find out, right? Like hit the wall in Monaco, whatever.
Yeah.
But now he doesn't have that. The team as a whole have 1.5 million for I mean, they have more, but they don't want to spend more than 1.5 million on repairs for the rest of the season. We're only a third of the way through the season. So that puts a lot of pressure on Max, but also on Checo to be like, you cannot mess up again.
Yeah.
Because the door is opening for these guys.
Yes, absolutely. And McLaren.
The red team. Zach Brown.
Zach Brown, baby.
Zach's making strides, man.
He is.
Absolutely.
Fred Vasseur is making strides. That man is a genius.
Who would have thought it takes a Frenchman to get Ferrari back on their feet?
Hey, that's what happened last time. John taught.
Yep.
Frenchman.
That's what I'm saying. Who would have thought? I mean, they've done it before.
Yeah.
They tried it with the Italians. Like that's a weird thing about Ferrari is apparently they only like hiring Italians, and they tried it. They tried Stefano Domenicali, Rizzo Rivabene, Mattia Bonato.
Yep.
None of them panned out. Except Stefano, he's like CEO of F1, but that doesn't help Ferrari right now.
No.
So
Bonato had an almost successful year in what?
Amazing engineer. Apparently he's going to Aston Martin. Yeah, 22. They're leading the championship through like 7 races, I think. Charles was on it.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, they had a successful start. Like there was potential, and then it just
like again, he was good, but he wasn't team boss.
Yeah,
exactly. He's a good engineer. He's a good engineer, and they made a good car that year. But then they weren't able to upgrade it the same way Red Bull were, and on top of that, they just messed up their strategy every race. It was like a comedic joke. It was like, okay, so who's messing up this time? Is it gonna be Carlos? Is it gonna be Charles? And I felt like every race of that season, they would sacrifice one of their drivers for the other one.
They're just rolling dice.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's pit on lap. Let's do 32.
Throw tonight. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
That lap sounds good. Why don't you just come on in?
Anyways, let's talk first quarter ratings for each of the drivers. We have them in drivers championship order, and we're just gonna you can do our rating and then a small like tidbit, so we don't like spend forever on this. Max.
Max Verstappen. So okay, is it like 1 out of 10? Okay.
1 to 10, yeah.
1 out of 10. All right. I'm giving him a 9, and because I think he wins Australia if he doesn't have a technical failure, and I think he wins what's it called, Miami, if Lando. I don't think Lando got lucky, but also I think like if strategy had gone exactly as how it was supposed to go, he wins Miami. So I think Max is on pace technically. Like if those things had happened, he'd be on pace as of what was basically last year. But because those little P's and Q's are not exactly lined up, I'll say a 9 out of 10 because he's not where I think he could be this year. A 9 out of 10.
I like that. Yeah. I mean, I would probably put him at an 8.5. I'd put him there. The reason being, Tristan was saying, I think that we start to see Max as human this year. I think we're seeing that a little.
Absolutely.
He's having to fight the car a lot more.
Yeah.
Usually you could deal with it, but not right now.
As much as I hate saying this, I think it kind of supports all the Lewis Hamilton fans that keep saying it's just the car. In a way that, like, yes, he's very, very good. He's very good. But when you have a car that is working with you rather than against you, it's easier not to make mistakes. Not to say it's easy not to make mistakes, because it's not, because you're driving at insane speeds with insane corners and the wall's so close, like in Monaco for certain races, and you see that it's not as easy because of, Checo is not doing that. So I think, ultimately, I think also you've seen what he's capable of doing, right? Like in the past, like this time last year, you would have said 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I go like 9.2.
The other thing I'll say is too, it's I think of course it's just natural because sports people want sport things to talk about. It's gonna be people are gonna be asking after Max retires, was it the car or was it Max? It's just it's inevitable. It's gonna happen. You're gonna be like, well, if you put Charles Leclerc in Max's car, would he have the same success? We just don't know. It's just one of those questions that people are gonna be asking.
Yeah, it's always like, I mean, you always have those questions of like, God forbid, Steven, you might know the answer to this. Who's the QB that was before Tom Brady and Tom Brady came in?
Well, yeah, that's what I was gonna bring that up. Yeah, Drew Bledsoe.
Drew Bledsoe. I knew it was Drew Bledsoe. I just didn't want to get it wrong.
No,
if Drew Bledsoe doesn't get injured, does Tom Brady ever even see a snap that matters?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
well, that's exactly what I was going to. I was literally thinking Bill Belichick, Tom Brady. Who was it?
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
what I liked and why I give Max still like a 8.5 is because he's still outperforming his team.
Yeah,
and he's always outperformed his teammate. I mean, Ricardo, they're pretty close, but like massively talented drivers like Gasly, Albon, and now Perez.
Yeah.
Like, even though it's such a tough car to drive, he makes adjustments and is still out there winning and competing for wins.
The only thing
most people would rate him lower because of the unsuccessfulness he's had this season, but I think he's working harder than ever. Maybe except for 2021 on Fight in the Car.
That's insane to say his pretty unsuccessful season, to consider that he's won 6 of the 8 races this year, or 5 of the 8 races.
Well, compared to last year, from like a 99% win rate to like
that's the expectation. If he doesn't win every race, something's wrong.
It's crazy. Is like you talk about like unsuccessful as if he hasn't won 5 of the 8 races this year, but it's just because you know what Max is capable of. You know what the team and him, when they're both firing on all cylinders, is 100% capable of, because we saw it last year. So, all right, Charles Leclerc.
Strictly because of the Monaco win?
Rate him a 10, Jason. You'll be a hypocrite.
It's okay. Putting fan influence into this is okay. I'm gonna say a 9. It's a great recovery so far from last year. He didn't win a race last year. And he won the most important one that matters to him. And also, in the points, he's doing solid. He's actually having a good year. So, I mean, again, he is fundamentally part of that double pack duo between him and Sainz that keeps Ferrari in the hunt for the constructor standings. So, like, that matters quite a bit. So I think a 9 out of 10. I think that's a fair remark for Charles Leclerc. Is the 9 out? He got his win, that matters, and I think that momentum will carry. So yeah, 9 out of 10. I like that.
I like that too. You're gonna call me. I'm gonna. You may call me crazy on this, but I want to give this man a 10. And the reason why is because maybe not because he's the best driver or anything like that. I think he's doing everything right that he's being asked to do, if that makes sense. Yeah. I think you look at his checklist, I think he's checked every box. I mean, obviously there's been mistakes, car-related mistakes, of course. But yeah, I mean, there really isn't much you can look at him and be like, oh, he did bad or anything like that. He's been consistently good. And I can't really put anything bad against him, honestly.
Yeah. I agree for those reasons. It has to be a 9 out of 10. Like, I was almost going to say, Sainz has been winning and competing for races, but he's ahead of him in the points. Charles has just been more consistent, and when Ferrari don't have the speed, they're right behind McLaren, ready to pick up the pieces if any slip-up happens.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was going to say, too. Like, it all comes down to consistency. It's why he's, 31 points off Max, because even when he's not on the podium or he's not winning the race, they've been so consistent. And I won't say he's been mistakeless because he has made mistakes this season and he has been several times behind Carlos. Which is why I'm probably right around a 9 and not anything higher because I do think that Carlos has outperformed him at times. So,
yeah.
All right,
Lando. Again, I think these three are the three biggest. Like, I don't think anyone's got a higher ranking than the three drivers that we're going through right now. But man, I'm teetering between a 10 or a 9. I'm gonna go with a 10. I'm gonna go with 10 out of 10 for Lando. He got his first win. He has been super consistent, just like Charles, and has picked up the pieces that we thought McLaren was going to pick up from last year. Going into this season, we thought, all right, there's going to be three teams that really matter. It's going to be Red Bull, it's going to be Ferrari, and it's going to be McLaren, right? Those are the three that are like definitively we should be keeping an eye out for. And I think he's locked in on that front. So, I don't know, 10 out of 10. He got that win, too. I mean, that's just the wind is in his sails. He, I mean, obviously Oscar took the podium position this past week. But yeah, I think a 10 out of 10. He is performing on all cylinders. He's doing a great job.
I like that. Now, actually, I guess you could call this maybe fan bias or just wishful thinking, but I want to give him more of a, I'm thinking like 8.3, 8.4. And the reason I say that is, of course, we're all happy the guy's first win. But for me, it's kind of like the same thing I was saying with Charles. It's like in his role, I feel like he should be doing better as the number one driver for McLaren. I mean, of course, McLaren is on the come up. I mean, they're getting better. And also the thing is, too, like, I think Oscar, there's been a good amount of times now where Oscar has outperformed him. And I just feel like Lando, the expectations are there for him, I feel like he should be, like you said, top 3 teams. He should be top 5, like, every week. And the fact that he's just not there, it's just, I mean, he's good, don't get me wrong, it's just, like, he's not meeting the expectations that I would have for a number 1 McLaren driver.
Yep.
Lando has a lot more points than Oscar. If it was a lot closer, like it's like 71 to 113.
Yeah.
So because of that, I gotta go with a 9 because like what else is he gonna do? Like he's winning, he's leading in points. Obviously most of these drivers have room for improvement, but there's not much for him. He just needs to keep on keeping on.
Keeping on.
I agree. All right. Signs.
I think he's filling that role so well. I think it's another 10 out of 10 for me. He consistent in the points, won a race when he really needed to. Not really needed to, but like when Ferrari or any of the other teams that needed to, like, here's the one opportunity to jump on Red Bull, he fully did and completely encapsulated that in Australia. Took that W. And also, I mean, this is like a little subtle dig, but like he like came back from oh god, now I'm forgetting. Appendicitis. And he came back from that and podium? I can't remember. No, what did he after what's it called?
After Saudi.
After Saudi, I think the race after that. Was he podium? I can't remember.
He won.
That's what I was gonna say. He won, I thought.
He won Australia after Saudi. He had appendicitis.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I have the order wrong. That's what I'm saying.
That's why I rate him, despite him being 4th in the championship, I rate him as the number 1 driver this year. I think he's been the best driver this year.
Yeah, like, but Charles is second.
He just hasn't made very many mistakes. He's been very consistent, and he came back from an injury like that. Like, coming back, I mean, there's been like all those memes. It's like apparently this year to win a race, if you're not Max Verstappen, you need stitches. Which was broken when Charles won Monaco last week, but still, I think he's my highest rated driver.
Yeah,
fair enough. That's a fair pull.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I mean, yeah, I'd put him at 10 out of 10 too, probably. And I mean, he's also the driver who probably has the most to prove, I would say, this season, especially since it's already been announced that he's leaving Ferrari, so it's like you want to see him at his best right now. You want to keep putting yourself out there to, one of the teams that wants you the most, and so you got to perform to do that, and he's been doing that every week. And I mean, they're definitely he's like the perfect teammate. I feel like, and the fact that he will challenge you for wins every week. But he doesn't necessarily. I mean, I guess there were times where maybe things got a little close between him and Charles, but never too much so. I mean, he's been super respectful, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. Again, I can't really say anything bad about
The
it.
last few years, he has always been a couple of tenths behind Charles, but this year, I can't believe he's stepped it up a little bit. For that reason, I still think he is still a little bit behind Charles. So I'm putting it at like 8.5.
Fair enough.
Do you think that the reason Red Bull hasn't jumped on the opportunity to take Carlos Sainz, bring him back into the Red Bull family, is because he's been so good and actually challenging for wins? Do you think that, like, if they sign Sergio Perez, is that Red Bull saying we don't really care about the constructors? We don't, like, all we care about is making sure that Max is happy and that Max has a number 2 driver that's not going to challenge him?
No, because I feel like the teams actually really care more about the constructors than anything. I mean, obviously they want their drivers to win the drivers' championship, but like, it's the I feel like the constructors is honestly like underground. Obviously, as a fan's perspective, you want to see the drivers' championship. On the underground sides of Formula One, the constructors is more important.
Absolutely.
So, like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Money comes from.
Yeah, exactly. That's the money to them. So, no, I don't think so. I would have to I'm not saying that's your opinion, but like, I would have to disagree on that point. Like, I think they do care about the constructors more, and they don't care as much about Max winning the championship, more around them winning the constructors year after year.
Well, the thing I'll say to that though is that I'm surprised we haven't talked about this honestly. If Checo does get extended, what type of message does that send to Carlos? You know what I mean? It's like there's all this hype around Carlos going to Red Bull, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, we're just gonna keep Checo. Don't worry about it.
I'm sure Carlos is good enough to fight in the Red Bull. It's just, why would you put him in there if they're already winning?
Yep.
Yeah.
There's the thing with that too is kind of like it would be as if they sign Checo, which, to be honest, I really don't want them to, but I think it looks like they are going to for a 1-year extension, which is beyond my match. It's crazy to me, but whatever. I think it's like double to Carlos Sainz. It's happened again, where with Ferrari he was there. He was gonna sign an extension to his contract with Ferrari, and then actually, never mind. Lewis is coming to Ferrari, and then it's like, okay, let's go Red Bull then, because that's gonna be my best option. I've been in the Red Bull family before. He was a Red Bull junior, and then it's like, wait, no, actually, we're gonna re-sign Checo. So I feel like slap in the face again.
Yeah.
But I hope he finds a good home.
If that happens, is that like Carlos Sainz confirmed going to Audi or something? Like,
I feel like that would be Carlos Sainz confirmed going to Williams.
Yeah.
Could be Mercedes too.
Yeah.
I mean, also, we can't let it like be slept on the fact that like good talent does fall through the cracks occasionally.
Absolutely.
Like it has happened in the past in every single form of motorsports. Like, and especially like, I mean, money talks nowadays, obviously. And you might be the most talented driver in the world. If you don't have a title name sponsor, you might not be able to make your ride. But even Carlos Sainz in that regard, if other teams have different motives and for some reason Checo gets that seat again, stuff like that, good talent falls through the cracks. It happens. Like, I don't want to sit here and say that Carlos Sainz isn't going to have a ride because I fully believe he is, but still, it could happen. You never know.
Yeah. I think also, like, it kind of goes to the point of a lot of people saying that, like, because Max has been so dominant, you can't really see the talent that is Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, because they've been overshadowed by someone who's just doing it just that little bit better. Whether that be, I mean, obviously that comes with the car as well, but he's also that little bit where you're not making mistakes, where you're able to drive a car when it's on the knife edge and be P6 when your teammate's P18.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Anyways, Oscar Piastri.
Oscar. I'm gonna give him a 8.8. I think he's done his job very well. Obviously, what's it called? E2 in Monaco this past weekend was incredible to see. I just had a strong weekend. I mean, obviously qualifying is huge there. So, I mean, he just qualified well, stayed put, because we saw at the end of that race, he lost pace to Leclerc and then everyone was just behind him. So God forbid they were actually able to pass, he maybe would have finished like 6th or something. But
that is true.
Yeah, I give the kid credit. 2 so far years back to back again so far that he's just been consistent and he's kept McLaren in the fight between P2, 3, 4 ish. I think they might be able to make that jump to P1, not this year, but maybe next year. Yeah, I'll give him like an 8.8. He's done a great job in that car. He reminds me of Lando when Lando started in that car. He's just done a great, solid job. Hasn't messed up really at all. Has a sprint win already. Obviously not this year, but like in general, he's won a sprint race. So yeah, we like Oscar.
I like that you mentioned that. It does remind me a lot of that relationship. Like Oscar and Lando does remind me a lot of Lando and Carlos when Lando was younger. I think it has that thing where like I think Carlos was in the sport a similar amount of time to Lando when Oscar's now come in. Maybe a little bit less, but you just have that experience I feel like Oscar's feeding off of that, and with the team making those upgrades, those improvements, he's just been so consistent. So
yeah. I mean, in all honesty, I think Oscar's been severely underrated. Just what he's been able to do. I mean, he's in his
he's my 10. Like, what else is he gonna do as a second year F1 driver, matching Lando Norris in the McLaren? Like, perfect.
Yeah.
I want to give him a 10, but I want to give him a 9.8. Yeah. I mean, again, just like you said, Jason, like I think he's been severely underrated. For you to, do you know how hard? Like, it's incredibly hard to come into F1 and in your second year look this good. I feel like I can't think of a driver that has done this before. Honestly,
Lewis Hamilton.
Yep.
That's the only other example I could think of.
Well, I mean, look, he's a 7-time champion, so I mean, if he's the only other guy that's done this, what does that say about Oscar?
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. It's
True.
crazy.
Yeah. Let's go speed round now because I don't want this to see like forever long. George Russell.
7 out of 10. Has been there, has done, I guess, as best as he could in that car, and that's all you can. I think that's actually the best sum up it could be. He's done as best he could in that car. He's done okay. The solid like 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I would give him like an 8.6. Been very solid, been consistent. And yeah, I mean, again, Mercedes is not that good, so the fact that he's been this good is a testament to how good he is. So yeah,
there you go.
Solid 8 because he's beating Lewis Hamilton. So that's pretty impressive.
7 times.
Words right out of my mouth summed it up perfectly. He's beating Lewis quite consistently. So 8. Speaking of which, Lewis.
I mean, I predicted this beginning of the season that he was going to have a terrible season. So, I mean, I'll give him like a 6. 7-time champion should not be running where he's running. But again, that's not necessarily his fault. But George is doing better than him. So, is that signs to come for Ferrari? We'll see. Yeah, like a 6.5, 6.
Yeah, I like that. You know,
go for it.
Go ahead. Oh, I was just gonna say, I'm gonna put him at a 5 right now, and
I agree.
Yeah, the reason I say that is because I think there's so many unanswered questions. I think we're gonna know more this time next year about his time as Mercedes. This year.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very hard to say. Like, especially with the way that he's leaving Mercedes, it almost makes you wonder if there is something going on.
Well, I will say that to anybody that has watched the Hot Ones episode, I can't remember exactly the question that Sean Evans asked, but he was like, is there like at any point in time where you're like, I don't know, I'm going to butcher this so bad, where you've lost control of the car, you have a really hard time like figuring out the car, and he was like, yeah, right now. Like this year.
He's not having a good time, and how much of that is him?
Yeah, I
don't know.
We just don't know.
Yeah. I think it's kind of the same thing we talked about with Max, which was like you know the potential there. You know what it's like when Lewis is with Mercedes firing on all cylinders, just like with Max with Red Bull. So how do you rate him highly when he's finishing like 8th consistently?
Yeah.
Like, you can't. Yeah. It's so difficult. Anyways, that's my same argument for why I give Fernando like a 7.
Yeah, because it's not. I don't think it's him. I really don't. I just think Aston Martin just has not improved. So I'll give Fernando. He's still quick when it matters, I guess. Like a 6.8 to 7. But we all thought they'd be better. So yeah, something like
They
that.
underperformed based on people's expectations for sure, Aston. Fernando is the epitome of right place, wrong time.
Yeah.
Every time in his career, he's always been at the right team in the wrong season. So
Yeah.
Like McLaren, if he would join McLaren just later, incredible. Like even 2019 was so much better than like 18 and 17 especially.
yeah.
For that, I'm giving him triple the score because he has triple the points as Lance Stroll. So I'm giving him a 9 because he is just dragging that car places where it's not supposed to be, and he's not complaining about it. So great job.
Does that mean Lance Stroll is a 3?
Yeah, I mean he's been so hard to defend. He's been making mistakes, and not gonna go too deep into it, but it's just a 3.
I think Lance is like a 5.
5. That's
Three.
Rated the same as Lewis Hamilton? I don't think so.
No.
Yeah.
At least Lewis isn't crashing into people.
Yeah.
Maybe a 4 then.
Yeah. I'd put him at like a 3.5.
I mean, I gave Lewis like a 6.8 or whatever, 6.5. So I'll give Lance a 5 on my books then.
Makes sense. Yuki is one that, despite the lack of like standing in the championship, I'd probably put him at like a 8 or a 9 this year.
I was gonna say 8's a good number. He's beating Ricardo, which everyone thought would be flip flopped. And he's actually been very consistent in the past couple races. So like obviously the beginning of the season was a great start for him, but yeah, I think like an 8's a good number. Yuki's been really fun to watch.
8.5. He's been improving so much. It's been great to see him like calm down on the radio, just get better in qualifying, and even though Ricardo has his moments, Yuki's been showing up.
Yep.
I give Yuki a 8.5. I mean, kid's impressive. I mean, coming into RB, not the greatest car already, doing what he's doing. I mean, the potential was there. I mean, I think he's the definition of driving yourself into a seat. I think.
Absolutely.
I like that.
It's so hard for me to like think that Checo is being considered for an extension, whereas Yuki is not even being considered for that seat. Like, nobody is talking about Yuki's at a Red Bull. It's just kind of assumed that he's never going to be a Red Bull driver. Like, he's always just going to be an AlphaTauri, a V-Carb, or whatever.
Yep.
Which, to be fair, he did talk about this, I think it was like last week or a week ago or so. He was like, I'm happy where I'm at. Like, I'm not gunning for that seat like some other drivers are. Like, if I don't go to Red Bull this year or for next year, I don't care. Like, I'm very much happy where I'm at. And I think he sees the improvements in the team. I think Mekis is doing a good job as team principal. So, anyways.
Yeah.
Nico.
He surprised me a lot this year.
Yeah, I was going to say, the surprise is real. I mean, he hasn't been really showing up in the last couple of races because Haas has just decided to become like the terrorist organization of F1 and do whatever the hell they want. But I'm gonna give Nico. I'll give him like an 8. I don't think anybody expected Nico to have this many points this part of the season so far.
Yeah, I'm giving it 8.5. He has exceeded my expectations.
Yeah.
I totally thought Magnussen would always be the quicker driver. Obviously not. Magnussen looks horrible compared to him.
Yeah.
Literally.
Nico is killing it, and it looks like he's already got the Audi contract signed. Like,
yeah.
Good for him.
Baby.
Boom.
Yeah. Like 7 for me, I think. Like I said, I mean, I think the fact that he has the Audi contract signed so early in the season clearly shows that he's outperforming what people expected of him. So.
Oh yeah, they know. They see something.
You know, Danny Rick.
6.
It's so tough.
I give him a 6.
I love it, but I think it's a 6. Yeah, because
I think it's a 6. 6
Yeah,
He's been fine.
I put him
He's
on
not
like
bad enough to kick out yet, but he's not doing good.
Yep. I mean, honest to God, as long as he doesn't wreck that car, then I think he's okay.
Yeah.
But
Who
the
keep it?
second he causes a wreck of some kind, or can cause a string of accidents of some kind, then okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alex.
Alex.
That's the funny thing, man. Is Alex the performance should be better, but it isn't.
He hasn't done as well as last year.
Fault? Is it Williams' fault? I mean, again, Williams in direct relation to Mercedes, and Mercedes is currently falling like a rock. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it Alex's fault? I don't think so. But also, we go back to slightly earlier in the season when they had some mechanical issues, and obviously Sargent basically destroyed his car, and then they had to do all sorts of leapfrogging with chassis and all that. I want to say, if I had to be a fly on a wall on any team this year, it's torn between Alpine and Williams. To be in the shop the week of okay, we need to figure out how to get a freaking car together within 2 weeks for this race. That would have been incredible to see.
They followed them for Drive to Survive.
Oh God, I hope so.
Drive to Survive has just become they never take the drama that's right in front of them, because this season has been so drama filled, and I feel yet we're not half the stuff's not going to make it into Drive to Survive, and there's going to be a bunch of fake stuff in Drive to Survive, which pisses me off, because Formula One, you don't need to create this fake drama, because there's been so much this year. Williams being one of them, the chassis change. I can't. I have to rate him higher than Denny Rick, but I also
because of that.
Want to be cautious for how high you go. I feel like maybe 6.5.
I put him at a 7 because he hasn't been doing as good as he was last year, but he's fine. He's good.
Yeah. I'll give him a 6. Yeah. The thing is too, I'm gonna say this: they gotta do a hard knocks in F1. They got. If they do a hard knocks with Williams, oh my gosh,
be awesome.
That would be so cool. Oh.
But Esteban Ocon.
2. I'm going to 2, man. I think him and Pierre are going to
rate Esteban lower.
Yeah. I know.
Esteban could be a little bit higher. He's been fine. The car's been bad. I'll put him 3.5. Also,
I think it's a combined thing. I think the car being bad and him being fine is fine. But also, honest to God, man, I know this is going to sound so lame because it's so fresh, but this past weekend, the car gets him to a 5 to begin with. And then that happens. I don't know, man. All right, I'll bump him up to a 3, maybe. I don't know, but that's also coming from a guy who just doesn't have faith in Esteban Ocon. So there's also that.
Yeah, I'll put him at a 3.5 on a prove it deal.
Yeah.
Prove it deal. I like that.
Yep.
K-Mag.
Purely because, again, he's just decided to become the missile of the grid and just make sure that as a teammate he gets Hulkenberg in the points if and whenever he can. I'll give K-Mag a 5. I give him a 5. I don't know. It's not based off of his performance, but I think that team has somehow figured how, again, I hate to use the terrorist of the grid, but they've figured it out where it's okay, I might not make it to the end, but he will. And that's all that matters.
Legit K-Mag is the red turtle of F1.
That's a good pull.
Legit. I mean, they use him in
the car. He's just
they just deploy him. It's go wreck.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, see, that's
he's a 6.5 for me.
Okay, that's
because he's been fine. He's underperformed Nico, but he's been okay for team and help.
Yeah.
Pierre.
Just because I like Pierre more than Esteban, I'm giving him a 4.
It's so tough for me because I feel he's genuinely a good driver. It's just the car is so bad that there's
I agree.
Can do.
Yeah,
pretty much.
I put him at a 7.5. He hasn't been that bad.
That's high.
Well,
see, I think he's having
it's a car,
but
he can't do anything about the car.
9 driver, so
yeah.
See, but the car still drastically affects the score. I mean, Like,
I don't know. We're rating drivers, not cars here.
That's true.
Fair. I forgot.
All right, Valtteri.
It was just an incident, dude. I forgot. Don't worry about it.
It's just
Valtteri just wishes he was on like vacation in Finland every weekend.
He just did like 100-mile bike ride.
Yeah, literally.
Yes,
Dude cares more about 2 wheels than 4. I mean, that's just how it goes.
That's why I have this like. I feel like I'm just waiting for the Valtteri Bottas retirement announcement.
Seriously.
Me too.
Yeah.
I know we talked about it earlier in the season. We were like, we don't think he's done. But the further we get into the season, and the more I do Wag Wednesday videos with him and his girlfriend winning cycling races, the more I just think that he's ready to go to 2 wheels.
Yeah, literally. Quite literally.
Yep.
What's the retirement age? 67, right?
What?
Yeah, 67.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm giving him a 67 out of 10 because that's retirement.
There you go.
There you go.
Logan
Sargent. This might be the first time we've talked about him all season, besides him wrecking the car. So I will give him a 2.
I agree. 2.
1.5.
He has not improved at all, and he's crashed the car, and he's 21st in a 20 driver championship. Also, we forgot about Zhou.
Oh yeah, Zhou Guan Yu.
Whoa, that's crazy, bro. I don't know where Zhou is on this list. He's definitely not on my list. Maybe
I was gonna say, I mean, coincidentally, probably giving Zhou also like a 2 or a 3. There's a reason.
I don't know. He's been fine.
Zhou's
He's
done
been
better
beating
than Logan.
Bottas. I'll give him a 6. I'll give him credit for being better than Bottas. Like, he's better than Sargent, maybe Bottas,
Is he better than
and Ocon.
Oh.
Like, he's definitely better than
To
them.
be fair though, one of the only overpasses from last weekend was Sargent passing Zhou. Overtakes. I was gonna say, as soon as I said overpass, I was like, what are we talking
Don't
about?
worry, I'm falling asleep here. We're doing this pretty late.
Dude, here's the thing. Okay, if I'm crazy, call me crazy. But I have this thing about. I feel like Zhou and you and Valtteri and George Russell are in a similar boat to where I feel like their teammates are no longer in it. Like Bottas and Lewis just seem so checked out at the moment. Like, I know Lewis is probably preparing for Ferrari, but it's at Mercedes, I feel like he's like, okay, I've checked that box and I'm done with it. There's nothing I can do. I'll show up and do the race, but like,
You're right.
Yeah.
they're kind of in the same position where it's like, yeah, I'm beating my teammate, but my teammate's checked out, so like it doesn't count.
Yep. No, that's totally fair.
Anyways, quote of the day.
Ooh.
This guy is such a sore loser.
Oh God.
This
Well, I think that's like Pierre Gasly.
I don't think it's Hamilton.
Not Pierre.
No.
I don't think it's him.
Who says like this guy? I feel like there's somebody in the Grin.
It's got to be Max. Max would say this guy.
Max?
Yeah,
you said?
he would say
No.
this guy.
It's not Max. But he's been teammates
This
with
guy
Max.
is such a sore loser.
Oh, he's been teammates.
Fines?
Oh, yeah.
Ugh.
When you said that he's been teammates, I was thinking George Russell, but I know they.
But what
Ricardo?
situation did this happen?
This is 2020.
Oh,
It wasn't
I guess that
Ricardo?
gives it away. No, it's not Ricardo.
it's
20
Albon then.
Yeah, it was Albon.
I was gonna
But
say that was
wasn't that they raced me so hard year? Like, that was ridiculous by Albon. Like, I thought his career was dead when he said that. They raced me so hard.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm pretty
they're gonna race you hard. They're F1 drivers.
You guys are trying too hard.
This is the career you
He's
signed up
calling
for.
drivers tryhards. I remember that.
I want to say this quote was from when he was like running in P2 and then Lewis like took him out. And they were fighting each other and then Lewis like touched his rear tire and I think he was like, this guy's such a sore loser. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of where it was like I'm pretty sure it was directioned toward Lewis. I'm like pretty confident in that. But I could be
So
wrong.
funny.
Alex trying to bully the big boy, I see.
Before we end off, I want to give for context that we are currently filming this at like midnight Eastern time for the boys. And for myself, it's like 8 a.m., almost 9 a.m.
I'm tired.
I'm going on how many hours?
So
12 plus 6, 18, 19. It's like 19 hours. I've been awake.
that's insane. So that's why
Jason's a hardworking guy.
Yes. So, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Whether you agree or disagree with our ratings, let us know in the comments. As always, podcast every Monday at 11:30 Eastern time, and check out our Instagram and TikTok at Lights Out Latest for Tech Tuesday, Wag Wednesday, Throwback Thursday, Fun Fact Friday, and the occasional Man on the Street and prediction videos.